Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 73 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful, warm, and comfortable confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Hopping right into this episode, guys. Currently, right now, it is August 24th, 2:51 in the p.m. 2:51 p.m. On a Saturday afternoon. Beautiful Saturday. I hope y'all are enjoying your weekend wherever y'all at. I've caught a couple of the games today. Definitely watching that dope Florida State Georgia Tech game that's currently going on right now. It's tied up in the fourth quarter. Hoping my nose pull it through, but Georgia Tech run offense has been exceptional today. Got to get them props. But this episode is actually not going to be talking about college football. This episode is going to be highlighting NFL training camp news and notes, roundup, wrap up for most teams, but more or less news that I thought was more or less pertinent and important. This is obviously the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. We ain't going to just talk about regular shit that you see on television. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything. So in this episode 73, I wanted to just touch on some things. Getting right into this episode, Bo Nix becoming the starter for the Denver Broncos. I think that was definitely some dope news. I got to watch an interview with Sean Payton, kind of seeing him blush and glow a little bit like a father waiting to be. Happy as all hell that, this young guy's going to get the opportunity to play and put himself in position. And again, Bo Nix, I think, has earned the right. I have an article, y'all, coming out on Substack talking about this myth of the high young rookie draft pick playing quarterback having to wait or earn his spot. I'm definitely going to be writing on an article about that. It'll be out soon. It's some more things that I need to touch up before I release it. But I just more or less, to say all that to say, I wanted to give Bo Nix props because he's been mature, consummate leader. He was a leader at Auburn, leader at Oregon. Dan Lanning loved the way the kid picked up the offense and ran the offense. He ran it methodically. He had Oregon in the championship conversation for a long duration of the season last year. He could definitely intake information. I like Bo Nix. I do. However, and like I said, I want to speak to his maturity too. He's definitely mature enough. However, what is going to be the end result for the Denver Broncos in all of this? Because, yeah, if he plays well, they're just more or less, and I get it. Chris Sims did a great breakdown on this where he said, more or less with Sean Payton's offense, if Sean Payton's genius is going to allow you to do all these other things, you have to account for the times the genius doesn't work. Okay, great. Bo Nix can definitely do that. The issue is, though, are the Denver Broncos really equipped to really beat teams? I mean, I think that they're good enough where they're going to be competent playing good football. I think if their quarterback plays better than it was last year, then they definitely are in the conversation. I just don't know defensively and offensively with what they've lost on both sides of the ball. Injuries they've suffered, not having Justin Simmons back there anymore, losing Caden Stearns, losing a lot of guys. I don't know how good that defense is going to be. This isn't the Vic Fangio, Christian Parker defense from a few years ago. It's a totally different defensive front, totally different defensive scheme and set. So, again, shout out to Bo Nix. Someone to try to rain on his parade, but I'm just very interested. It's great that he's going to be the quarterback, but we kind of knew that. It's kind of bullshit. He has to earn his job. He was going to be the quarterback. They drafted him high. Sean Payton wanted this guy. So, more or less, can his teammates help him respond and elevate this team back to, the playoffs? Because, hell, guys, they haven't been in the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. And that was over 10 years ago. So, next I wanted to hop on another AFC quarterback, Browns, Deshaun Watson. And this news came from August 21st, so do keep in mind it was dated 3 days ago. But it's still relevant because obviously he's still dealing with it. Deshaun Watson was limited a few days ago in practice with arm soreness. Kevin Stefanski said that it's basically a normal camp injury. Nothing that they're worried about, just something they're going to continue to monitor. And, everything's going to be fine. Here's my take on it. The pressure continues for Deshaun Watson. Another injury, something else to keep an eye on, something else to monitor. You're not healthy. If you haven't had scandal coming into a season, you haven't played, you haven't been healthy. It's always something. The pressure's on for this man. He has to justify that contract this year. And if he doesn't, the Browns pretty much put themselves in a no-win situation, a rat bastard situation. So it's just one of those things where, You're hearing about him having arm soreness and all the. It kind of like Russell Wilson. You're playing for your job. The difference is Russell Wilson's got competition nipping at his feet. They got your competition out of there. They sent your competition to Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson, so now he doesn't have to worry about that. If you're a Browns fan, you have to be concerned that this guy is just, again, another injury. And maybe it's just arm fatigue. Maybe it's nothing really to harp on. But again, it's just another injury that this guy has, and he's taking the most guaranteed money of all the quarterbacks in the NFL. Just, again, keep that in mind. Yeah. Hopping on another much maligned quarterback, someone within the division, Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson. Again, you just heard me reference this guy. Says he will play in today's game against the Lions. The game's currently taking place. He has taken snaps. I will have analysis of that on a later episode today, guys. He said that the team was told that all starters will play. No shock there. They look like shit. They need to play. One, how will he look? I think, again, I have some in-depth analysis on that. Definitely some in-depth analysis on how the starters looked, how Justin Fields looked, and how that offensive line looked. Because Broderick Jones, the right tackle, was food. Gregory Rousseau ate his lunch a week ago when the Bills played them, and he did not look the part at all for right tackle. So be very interested to see all of those. Like I said, I will have analysis on that because Russell Wilson's definitely playing for his job. He's just too damn nonchalant, too cool for me. I get it. You got a beautiful wife and beautiful kids. I get it. You got a lot of beautiful things to come home to. However, your football career, your job, that may end if you don't really get it together. So definitely will have analysis on that. This next update I thought was funny. I definitely had to touch on this. It's not really funny on who they signed, more or less funny on the move that was made. Cowboys, after Jerry Jones had kind of loosely referenced earlier in the week that they would definitely be addressing the pass rush group and run defense, they went and signed veteran defensive lineman Linval Joseph, who they have been in contact with throughout the offseason, so there's no shock there, nothing new to report there. He has a familiarity with Mike Zimmer, signing in on a one-year contract. The Cowboys needed to shore up their run defense, so getting in a veteran like Linval Joseph, who's known for run defense, it's great. However, more will be required. This is just like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping, bleeding wound. It's great that you got this guy to come in there, but this is more that's going to be required. I mean, in your division alone, you got to deal with the running backs. Look at the teams you're playing this year. They don't have the personnel to play run defense effectively and efficiently. But again, this was a familiarity signing. Linval Joseph playing with Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer knows how to play Linval Joseph. Yeah. Good signing. I just feel like more will be required. I want to give a shout out to the Falcons for signing A.J. Terrell to a 4-year extension. I have also the contract details here. This year, he's receiving his 5th-year option, so it's going to be a base salary of $12.344 million. So it's great for him. He's getting that money too. He was pretty much Atlanta's first-round pick in the 2020 draft. He has lived up to the hype in the 61 games, 247 tackles, 4 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles, a sack, and a fumble recovery. Good young player. And then looking at the contract, I think it was a great contract for the Falcons, for both sides, really. It's essentially 4 years, $81 million. The average is $20,250,000 a year. And there's no hatch. There's no escape hatch. It's not like they can get out of this contract within 2 years. Essentially, they're locked into him to 2029 when he'll be 31 years old. So great contract for A.J. Terrell. He's deserved it. He's played at a decent level. The Falcons fans out there definitely know who I'm talking about. They definitely seen the level he's played at. They've been looking for a decent corner for a while now. So good signing, good in-house signing. You keep one of your guys, and you pay him, and you make him feel good. And again, he's going to be required this year because they're going to be playing the high-stakes games. Beginning of the season, they're playing high-octane offenses. Middle of the year, they're playing high-octane offenses. So again, all of this is required. Shout out to the Falcons for getting it done, and shout out to A.J. Terrell for getting this bag. As we go a bit further, we have the 49ers news. I kind of wanted to touch on this. There's a lot here, so bear with me. And I'll start with Trent Williams. Kyle Shanahan said, and this is via Pro Football Talk, that they are getting close on a new contract. When I dug a little bit further, Wasn't really shocked too much there. Trent Williams is integral to keeping Brock Purdy upright and keeping McCaffrey and the offense flowing, because without McCaffrey flowing, this offense is shit. So yeah, essentially I get it. They definitely had to pay him. Not a shock. However, the one that has been perplexing has been the Brandon Ayuk move. And I know you guys have heard me report he was definitely going to get traded. The trade was there. It just didn't happen for a multitude of reasons. I'll touch on that shortly. But the trade was there. It just didn't happen. Digging further into the details, Kyle Shanahan said that he wished, when he spoke to the media a day ago, he said, I wish that I could say, quote, I wish that I could say something else, but nothing's changed on the Brandon Ayuk front. Not shocking that nothing has happened. However, what's shocking is how quiet things have been. When I was able to do some research, Tom Pelissero, Mike Florio, Albert Breer, when doing the evaluation, doing the research of what happened during the negotiations, essentially, New England could pay Ayuk, but it didn't make football sense. Didn't want to go there. The Browns could pay Ayuk. He didn't feel it made football sense. Didn't want to go there. Wants to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Definitely wants to be a Steeler. However, the money between Pittsburgh and San Francisco, I almost misspoke and said Kansas City. Forgive me. The money between Pittsburgh and San Francisco is pretty much the same. So that's pretty much why there's been an impasse and a holdup. And ultimately, the 49ers aren't dumb. They know if they get rid of this guy, they're going to need to bring a receiver in. Ricky Pearsall is not ready. Debo Samuel is not the answer. No matter how much he changes his jersey number, he's not the answer. There's not a lot of relief coming through that door in the receiver position for this team. So they need this guy back with the combination of other guys to make this thing flow. Again, Kyle Shanahan knew all offseason trying to keep this together with Band-Aids, bubble gum, and duct tape, and this is what he's doing. This is where they're at. I ultimately feel like the contract with Ayuk and the Niners will probably get done because now it's just too late in the season to trade him. Doesn't mean that the trade deadline is not a possibility. I just feel, in my opinion, he probably won't get traded at this point. The deal's on the table between the Niners and the Steelers. It's just more or less compensation, how that all gets worked out. And because of this has forced the 49ers to kind of reconsider their stance and force them to say, you know what, maybe we might be better off paying this guy, especially if the money's no different. Again, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch coming to their senses that the system isn't the end-all, be-all. But let's be honest, let's not even play games here. The 49ers have no real option but to pay him. I mean, if we're gonna be honest, right? I reiterate it. It's kind of late in the season to trade him now. You're not really going to get the greatest of value for him if you're trading him now, especially at the beginning of the season. And let's not forget, if you're going to pay Brock Purdy next year, not 2 years from now, next year, you plan on paying Brock Purdy, who the fuck is he throwing the ball to if it's not Brandon Ayuk? Debo Samuel's not going to be there. George Kittle's not going to be there. Who is he going to be throwing the ball to? 49ers have just completely shitted the bed in this situation, have not handled it well. The only way it's going to get handled well is if they get these guys in camp with these contracts. Again, Kyle Shanahan said they're close with Trent Williams. Nothing new to report with Brandon Ayuk. He's not playing for that $14.1 million. So the Shanahans and the Lynches and the 49ers and the Yorks and the company, they're going to have to figure it out. Going a bit further, wrapping up this episode, I wanted to touch on the Panthers making a trade for a cornerback. The Panthers traded for a former Seattle Seahawks cornerback, Michael Jackson. The Panthers need a cornerback's bad, period, so no shock there. With Dane Jackson pretty much starting the season on IR, the Panthers were in need of a new corner. This was a move that was desperately needed. And then they got rid of inside linebacker Michael Barrett, who ultimately was probably going to get cut and not even make it. He made it to Seattle, where linebacker depth is always needed and always implored. So again, great move for Seattle to get a guy, get off a guy that they kind of felt like they weren't going to be able to pay and keep anyway, especially when you got Reek Taylor and you got, Devin Witherspoon. Michael Jackson was kind of more or less the odd man out. And again, Michael Barrett getting a new home from leaving the Panthers because, again, he was going to get cut. So this kind of just made sense on both sides. Definitely dope to see. Definitely good to see. But that's going to wrap up this episode, guys. I definitely want to hop back into the games. Like I said, I'll have an update about that Florida State Georgia Tech game. I'll have an update in regards to the preseason NFL games and what I thought, how some of the rookies and some of the vets played. Again, nonetheless, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on Substack. As always, I love you guys. The show is continuing to grow. Help it continue to grow, guys. I will have memorabilia and swag out soon, hoodies, cups, things like that. So, again, check out the mailbox. I also put in La Familia EST88@gmail.com. That is the email. Check it out. Definitely. So if you have fan questions, suggestions, things that you think would be great for the show, definitely check us out. I'm open to suggestions. Again, this is the episode 73 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I love you guys. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.